Tayin ko lang go mo. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Ito po si Sky Ortigas and we are live here now at CBCP News Conversation. So, napaka-special po ng araw na ito kasi may kasama po akong isang special na tao. At the same time, pag-uusapan din namin ang isa pang espesyal na santo ngayon na nagse-celebrate ng kanyang 100 years. So ngayon, habang tayo ay nag-uusap dito sa Facebook, you can comment, you can join us in our live conversation. And right now, ang sinasabi kong special na tao na kasama ko ay si walang iba kundi si Bishop Joel Bong Bailon. Magandang hapon po, Bishop Bong. Kamusta kayo?
Mabuti naman po. Magandang hapon din, Sky, at sa lahat ng mga nakikisa sa atin dito sa CBCP Conversations natin ito. Yes, I'm very happy to be here kasi special ang araw na ito na pinagdiriwang natin ang ika-100 taon mula ng yung pagsilang ito ni St. John Paul II.
Yun na nga po. Ang sinasabi nating special na santo ngayon ay si St. John Paul II. He is celebrating his 100th birthday right now. So ngayon, si Bishop Bong naman ay magbibigay sa atin ng mga kwento ng mga experiences niya kay St. John Paul II. Kasi I believe na-meet niyo po siya, di ba?
Yeah, sure. Pinanganak na ako nung maging santo.
Ayun. So, Bishop Bong, ang alam ko po, ngayon po, by the way, nasaan po kayo ngayon?
Nasa Diocese ng Legazpi ako. Nasa aking residence dito sa Daraga Albay actually. Diocese ng Legazpi. Nandito sa aking lokal na simbahan. Actually, busy kami ngayon. Pinag-aandaan namin yung muling pagbubukas ng mga simbahan. Siyempre, after this lockdown, siyempre, nakasarang mga simbahan. Siyempre, excited ng mga tao na muling makabalik. Pero kailangan may makapag-establish din ng protocol. So anyway, nabanggit ko lang yun kasi yun ang pinagkakaabala namin ngayong mga araw na ito dito. I am sure sa ibang mga dioceses din.
Opo. Ayan, kasi nga, oo nga kasi GCQ na sa area nyo, Bishop, no?
Yeah. Oo nga. Na kami. So mas marami ng yung kalayaan. Pero yun nga, napakahirap din. Baka maling interpretasyon ng kalayaan para kahit ano pwede nang gawin.
Opo, oo nga po sige po, ngayon po pag-uusapan natin si St. John Paul II, yung ating naging Santo Papa nung time na matagal na. Kasi naalala ko, Bishop, nung pumunta siya sa Pilipinas, I think it was year 1981 or 82, nag-mass po siya dyan sa Legazpi.
Yeah.
And naalala ko, ang sinasabi mo kanina, nag-uusap tayo, na nakahalubilo mo siya dyan. So magbigay ka naman ng konting kwento kung ano yung experience mo sa kanya.
Actually, hindi naman talaga nakahalubilo ko in the sense na may direct yung other experiences ko sa kanya, karanasan ko sa kanya, ayun, mas up close and personal yun. Pero mamaya natin pag-usapan yun. Ito kasi, ang memorable ito sa akin kasi ito yung unang-unang up close pa rin and personal na. Kasi pumunta nga siya sa Diocese ng Legazpi. Pero higit pa doon kasi sa yung pagpunta niya rito, I was ordained in 1978 as a priest. At yung yun, nung taong yun, siya rin ay ginawang Santo Papa. Kaya magkaedad kami sa kanyang papacy, yun namang ordination ko sa priesthood. In fact, nung ako'y ma-ordin ng diakono, wala pang kamamatay lang noon ni Pope John Paul I, ni Paul VI. In fact, ni Saint Paul VI. Tapos wala pang noon, then tapos biglang sumunod si Pope John Paul I. At ito naman ay naging papa natin is halos isang buwan lang. Tapos namatay na naman siya. Pero salamat Panginoon, noong October 1978, nung ako may ordain, siya ay nahirang na yata siya 2 days earlier. Parang October 16 siya naging papa, hindi ako nagkakamali. Pero alam ko, 1978 yon. So parang kaisa niya ako sa kanyang papacy at yung ang ordinasyon ko ay mula sa kanyang sa papacy niya sa kanyang kamay bilang papa. So mahalaga 'yon. At nung 2 years later, o ilan 'yon? 3 years later, more or less ganun. Dumalaw siya dito sa Legazpi. Among the several cities na dinalaw niya dito sa kanyang first ever visit sa Pilipinas at sa matagal na ring panahon mula nang si St. Paul VI ay dumalaw dito noong 1970. Yun ang unang-unang papa na dumalaw sa atin. Although sabi nga, ito yata si St. John Paul ay nakarating na dito but as a cardinal noon. Nung dumalaw siya saglit yan sa Baclaran Church at nagmisa, sandali lang kasi may stopover siya yung aeroplano niya. Anyway, so pagpunta niya rito, batang pare ako, excited kami, halos hindi na kami natulog, punong-puno itong Peñaranda Park, itong park dito sa Legazpi, kung saan nag-celebrate siya ng misa sa labas ng katedral kasi definitely hindi magkakasya yung tao sa katedral. So sa labas ng katedral, doon mismo sa pinaka-gate. At kumbaga sariwang-sariwa ang memory namin sa misang ito. Alam namin kung saan kami nakatayo, doon sa paanan mismo ng altar, kami mga batang pare. Naalala ko nandun din si Madam Imelda sa altar at saka yung ibang mga special na cardinal. Those are the memorable times. Now, therefore, wala akong malapit ng pakikiugnayan o pakipag-usap man lang kay John Paul. But the mere fact that I was there when he celebrated Mass was a memorable time for me as a young priest. At yung parang, and then, yun nga yung enthusiasm na na siya, ang batang-bata among the younger bishops noon. I think he was ilan ba lang? 57? Yung
50
parang ganun.
plus, hindi pa ata siya. I think he became Pope when he was 54, 56, something like that.
Yata, something like that. Yeah, basta definitely he wasn't even 60. So he was a very young Pope nung maging Papa siya. At kaya parang the enthusiasm ng buong simbahan with this young Pope. And then yung yung aura, yung charisma niya. So it was a memorable time for me. Yun ang unang encounter ko in 1982. I think that was February 21 yata, kung hindi ako nagkakamali. 8 o'clock in the morning, but already 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock yata, gising na kami, pumila na kami because definitely we had to make way for his arrival. Hindi ko na matandaan kung saan siya galing noon, Iloilo yata. Kasi nagmisa rin siya the night before. And then pumunta dyan na siya dito sa amin.
Ayan. At least po, nung tumatiming po pala, Bishop, no, nung ikaw ay inordinahang pare, yun din yung magiging Pope siya.
Opo.
And I think it was a very memorable experience for you as a young priest. Kasi knowing na after ilang years ulit, makikita mo ulit siya sa one of the biggest World Youth Days. I think the biggest World Youth Day na nangyari sa buong mundo, which was on 1995 here in the Philippines. So sa mga nag-World Youth Day dyan, worst natin, mag-hi naman kayo dyan sa ating comment section kung na-experience nyo ang World Youth Day dito sa Pilipinas. Ayan, dahil po nandito si Pope John Paul II ng World Youth Day at nandun din si Bishop Bong. Sayang nga po, hindi ako nakapunta noon. Naalala ko po, nasa Iloilo ako at hindi ako pinayagan ng aking mga magulang para kasi grade 6 pa po ata ako noon. So, Bishop, ano pong mga experiences niyo nung World Youth Day 1995?
Okay. Ito, very unique itong karanasan ko ng World Youth Day, Sky, kasi I wasn't really part of the World Youth Day events. Sa totoo lang.
Okay.
I have to confess. Kasi I was working at the Apostolic Nunciature during that time. I was a local secretary of the Papal Nuncio, Archbishop John Vincenzo Moreno, God rest his soul, Moreni. Archbishop Moreni was the Papal Nuncio. Pero ang dahilan kung bakit napaka-special itong World Youth Day ito sa akin, kasi doon nakatira ang Santo Papa sa Nunciature.
Wow. So isang bahay lang kayo.
Isang bahay lang. At hindi lang isang bahay, kasama nila akong kumakain. Imagine to that. Sabi nga, imagine that. Na yun ang karanasan ko. Hindi ko talaga then I would celebrate kasi every now and then. Like for example, nung dumating siya, I think it was January 16, nung hapon, galing siya sa punong-puno yung karsada dyan sa harap ng yung sa Taft Avenue yan, yung yung sa harapan ng Nunciature. Eh, nandun kami sa loob kasi nandun na nga ako, hindi na ako kailangang sumama dun sa airport para sumalubong sa kanya because he was anyway coming home to us dun sa Nuncia Church. And then nagmisa muna siya. And dun, even in that simple, small chapel there, he was with us, he celebrated with the nuncio and the cardinals were with him. And then, pagkatapos nun, naghapunan sila. I was there. I was part of that small group dun sa dining hall ng kasama ako ng Santo Papa. At alam mo, sa European way of sitting ng dinner table, ang kabisera, yun ang upuan ng pinakakulelat, yung pinakabata, yung sa ranggo. Nandun ako sa kabisera ng mesang yun. Ang Santo Papa ay nandun sa gitna, bandang gitna ng mesang yun. At ang hindi ko makalimutan yung simplicity niya, the humanity that was in him because nung kumain na kami, di nakapag-bless na, naupo siya, nag-serve na ng itong soup. Siyempre, una-una kasi para mainit, makano siya. Alam mo, pinatagilid niya lang yung soup bowl na yun. Wala yung formal na Pinatagilid niya yung soup bowl. Tapos higop siya ng higop na as if there was nobody in front of him. It was so simple. Parang tonto ako noon na yung simplicity ng Santo Papa ito with all the protocols and all that na formalities. Eh, itong Santo Papa ito napakasimple. Because maybe he was so hungry and he was just being at home, parang ganon. But I remember that very well. And doon, yun nga, lalabas sila. Nandun ako, hindi ako sumasama sa kanila. Kasi, ang una, I did not want to be a burden to the community, to the group rather that was going out, going anywhere, kasama sa Papa. Siyempre, dapat kasama ako. Or else, ang danger ko, kinakatakutan ko, baka maiwan ako, hindi ako papasukin pagbalik. Doon lang ako. At alam ko na ang strategy ko para sigurado kung ang Santo Papa, paglabas niya sa Popmobile, kasi nasa Popmobile siya, tatayo na ako dun sa paanan ng sasakyan. Iunat ko ang aking kamay. At bibiligay ko sa kanya, di tatanggapin niya rin yan. Papahawak siya, inaalalayan ko siya. Sabi ko, saan ko ito magagawa kung lumabas ako kung saan? But it was all like that during those 4 more or less days that he was living with us. And then there was even one time when I wanted to accompany him kahit parang hindi na pwede. Sinabayan ko siya hanggang kasi may second floor kami at dun siya natutulog sa kwarto. Nung nuncio, dun siya natulog. Ang nuncio natulog dun sa kwarto ng secretary. Ako ang natulog sa kwarto ko. Yung secretary ni Pope, ito ngayon si Cardinal Dubitsky. Yung nandiyan, Cardinal ng Krakow yata ito ngayon. He was the personal secretary noon ng Santo Papa. So anyway, saan ako natulog? Sa laundry room namin. Doon sa kusina, sa kasama ng mga labada and all that. Pero what would I mag-complain about? Naando ng Santo Papa. And then, nung sinasamahan ko na siya papunta sa kwarto niya after dinner or parang inaangat ko yung niya, sutana para hindi siya matapilok, hindi siya mapatid ng kanyang damit. Sabi niya, "You're a very good priest." Yun na sabi niya sa akin.
Wow, nakakatuwa naman marinig yun sa isang Santo Papa na ngayon santo na talaga.
Santo na,
totoong santo na talaga. So, Bishop, kung batiin lang natin yung mga nanonood sa atin, no? Merong si John Nori Marigali, siya marhay na hapon daw po, Bishop po.
Maray na hapon man.
Taga Legazpi po ito. And meron din tayong nanonood from Bacolod, si Miss Victoria Barrientos. Medyo marami pong nanonood sa atin ngayon.
Yeah.
Nakakatuwa din po na malaman yung mga istorya niyo po kay St. John Paul II. And kahit na nga po sa laundry room kayo natulog, parang hindi na importante yun kahit
hindi importante.
Kahit sa CR ka pa matulog, okay lang. Kasi alam mo naman na ang Santo Papa nandun. Bishop Book, may mga kwento na grabe daw ang prayer life nitong si St. John Paul II. Na kahit saan pag may nakita siyang figure ni Mama Mary o kaya Blessed Sacrament, talagang tumitigil siya. Kahit daw po yung oras ng programa ng buong araw niya napipigilan dahil lang gusto niyang magdasal. So, may mga nakita ka bang mga ganong instances when it comes to your experience inside the Nunciature nung time ng 1990?
Ang hindi directly personal ko kasi ikinuwento ito sa akin nitong Papal Nuncio, si Archbishop Moreni. Sabi niya, yun, and that's exactly the point that he was telling me. Sabi niya, ang spirituality niya, ang kabanalan nitong Santo Papang ito ay extraordinary niya. Imagine niya, kwentuhan niya ako. Nung unang misa, yung kinukwento kong pagdating niya, di nagmisa kami doon sa he would still, alam mo na, when he arrived here, he just had this, he figured in an accident dun sa banyo niya na I think he had to, break itong femur niya or something like dyan sa bone niya. Kaya siya may cane, you remember, may hawak-hawak siyang baston noon na pinag-twirl niya yung vigil ng that was a famous shot doon na pinapaikot-ikot niya yung. Anyway, yung cane na yun, he was using a cane kasi nga mahina yung kanyang paa. But he would still genuflect at the mass. Yung despite the pain, maybe it must have been painful pero yung parang humility niya before God, yung niya sa reverence niya before the Blessed Sacrament, Eucharist. So yun ang una. Pero above all, sabi niya, alam mo nung gabing yun, sabi niya, it was I think the second night, and it was a long day. May schedule sa UST noon, meron siya yung mga initial meetings with the youth sa kung saan dumating na siya gabi na. Sabi daw ng Santo Papa, magdadasal muna niya ako. Doon siya sa chapel and he prayed alone. So tapos nung medyo natatagalan na, sabi ng nuncio, bakit niya natatagalan ng Santo Papa? Mabuti pa niya bantayan ko, puntahan ko, check ko kung ano. So nagpumunta siya sa chapel. Of course, secure yun kasi yung mga yung Swiss guards, they were constantly 24-hour yun. So there were actually 4 levels of security dun sa Santo Papa, just to be able to secure. So walang problema, it wasn't that. But yun nga, sabi niya gabi na, tomorrow it will be another long day, kailangan matulog na siya. So nandun siya, binantayan niya, hindi niya naman inistorbo, hindi niya man sinabi, matulog ka na. O din nandun lang siya sa likod, kasi nasa harapan mismo ng Blessed Sacrament ang Pope. Later on, nung ay di kumilos ng Santo Papa, sabi, ay salamat niya, lumingon sa kanya, tapos pinaypayan siya, tinawag siya, lumapit sa kanya. Sabi daw sa kanya, let's pray the rosary. Sabi niya, magulong nito. Sige. Siyempre, pinagbigyan na Santo Papa nag-request. Pinagdasal sila ng Santo Rosario. Sige na yun. Hi, finally, di pa tatapos na rin yung na. Pero alam mo, nung mag-Hail Holy Queen na, kumanta pa. Sabi niya, yung despite all the the fatigue, the tiredness that you kasi siya mismo pagod na, ikot dito, punta doon, ganitong ginagawa, pero naandun na niya yung kanyang fervor, yung kanyang pagmamahal sa Panginoon, yung contact niya sa Diyos was never sacrificed or diminished during those days. Kaya tama yung sabi na yung kwento ng kanyang kabanalan, extraordinary, and it was quite obvious wherever he went.
Oo, kasi po pag nagdasal daw po yun, walang makaka-disturb, and minsan isasama ka pa niya. Yun nga yung kwento mo, Bishop, na kahit pagod na si St. John Paul II, talagang magdadasal pa rin.
Yeah.
Hindi sa kanya, hindi important yung pagod sa kanya para lang wag hindi makapagdasal, pero sa kanya it's always worth the effort to pray, no? And Bishop, naalala ko nung time na yon, di ba pari ka, nung may sinasabi ka pa kanina na mas na-meet mo pa siya personally during your first ad limina visit as a bishop. So,
yeah.
Ito mas iba na kasi bishop ka na nung time na yun.
Oo, yeah, mas excited na ako. Pero naman, iba na rin naman siya. What do I mean by that? By this time, advanced na kasi yung Parkinson's disease niya. He wasn't so much in control of his speech. Nag-slur niya ang kanyang speech. At even he was even drooling. There was constantly somebody beside him who would wipe his saliva and wipe his mouth. So, but he still insisted on meeting each one of us. Kaya that was a great privilege for me. That was my very first ad limina kasi kami naman mga bishops, di ba? Every 5 years on the average, kailangan kami pumunta sa Roma para mag-report sa Holy Father at sabihin kung ano ang magre-report kami sa nangyayari sa aming mga respective dioceses. Anyway, so yun I was scheduled to be there, pero we were already forewarned. Sabi sa amin, the Holy Father isn't speaking too much Kaya kung gusto ninyo no, tumagal sa harapan niya, magsalita kayo na magsalita, unahan nyo na siya, makipagkwentuhan na kayo, parang ganun. Kasi talagang hindi na siya makakapagsalitang maigi. So yun ang yung nasa mind naming lahat ng mga obispo nandun. About 1/3 of the Filipino bishops nag-elimina kasi we are divided into 3 groups. Anyway, nung dumating na yung araw na ako, so pinakilala niya ako nung secretary na sabi, the Bishop of Masbate, kasi nasa Masbate pa ako noon, obispo ng Masbate, kasi first adlimin ako. Nung pag-upo ko, nagmano ako sa kanya, humalik ako sa kanya sinising. Tapos sabi niya, Masbate, Mindanao. Sabi ko, no, Holy Father, akong pagkakataon ko para magsalita. Bagay, kaya lang, ano naman ang sasabi mo sa geography? North, South, East, West. Sinasabi ko, ito ako, North of Cebu, South of Manila, 400 kilometers. Ganyan yung that's ako where Masbate is. It's an island province. So, ganun, pinaliwan. So, nung finally matapos ako in maybe less than a minute, sabi niya sa akin, thank you for your visit. Yun lang. Tapos, siyempre, ang ibig sabihin, pwede ka nang umalis. Wala na siyang hindi na siyang but it was that, yung parang the fatherly attention and care that he manifested despite yung limitasyon niya na nga. Kaya nga, ang isa pang naaalala ko nung adlimin ng visit na yun ay, kasi after a while, katapos ng meron kaming sama-samang pakikipagpulong sa kanya. He would give a message dun sa group ng bishops na yon. So pagkatapos ng message na yon, nag-lunch kami. Kasama siya. And tuwang-tuwa kami kasi, ordinarily kasi pagod na nga, matanda na, may sakit, dapat na. So binigyan kami ng special na time na doon siya sumabay sa amin sa lunch. Tuwang-tuwa kami. Kantahan kami, yung mga obispong pwedeng kumanta, mga gano'n, nagsisipagkantahan, gano'n. So, it was a wonderful time and he was enjoying it. In fact, nung lumapit yung monsignor na nag-aalaga sa kanya para i-pull out na siya, yung upuan niya, permanente na doon, may gulong lang yon, ay hinihila. Sabi niya, wag, dito muna niya ako. So, sumabay siya sa amin, natili siya doon, pinakinggan niya lang yung kwentuhan na yung kantaan yun. Until we really finished our lunch, he was there with us. Sabi namin, oh my goodness, special na time ito with the Holy Father being with us all the way. As a matter of fact, yung next group sa amin ng mga Filipino obispo, wala na silang lunch with him. Sabi namin, siguro pinagod namin masyado.
Mas nag-enjoy si Pope sa inyo.
Talaga. Oo nga, kasi kung sino mga kasama kong mga galing sa kantahan, yung mga. Kasi I was with the Cebuano bishops then, yung kami Bicol and Cebu, yung group namin, we were together during that time. So anyway, that's the third time that I would remember the Holy Father. And this time, itong yun, yung parang the old wise man, he was listening despite his fragility, the humanity that nakita mo, yung kapalapit ng kamatayan. He was there faithfully listening to his people, spending time with his brothers, parang gano'n. That was what was very impressive and memorable for me sa pangatlong pagkakataong namit ko si St. John Paul II.
And kaya din po siya siguro nagstay with you, Bishop, kasi may kantahan kayo nangyayari. I've learned that St. John Paul II really loves music and art, no? So, in a way, maraming nangyayari nung time na yun na talaga napapastay siya. So kahit ganun na siya katanda, talaga he always makes time to meet his bishops. And nakakatuwa din na Bishop Bongno kasi St. John Paul II really loves the young people. And naalala ko nung time na ikaw din ay naging naging chairman ka din ng Commission on Youth. Diba? So, how did St. John Paul II influence you in especially loving the youth, the young people?
Well, unang-una, ang sino mang pumapasok sa youth ministry would always look up to him as the model of that love for the young. Kasi unang-una siyang siyang pasimuno nitong World Youth Days nito. At yung special na pagmamahal niya talaga sa kabataan. He was the Pope, was kissing everybody, every single baby, mga ganun. Yung yung makita mo naman talaga, yung una, yun ang ganung yung puso niya talaga nasa kabataan. At saka maliban doon, yung sa kabila ng kanyang, there are many things that about him that would not have been so attractive to the young, and yet it was the young who was being drawn to him. The young were calling out to him, JP2, we love you, mga ganyan-ganyan. Ang ko dun is, pag pumasok ka sa youth ministry, hindi mo pwedeng hindi makita si St. John Paul sa ginagawa mong pagmamahal sa kanila. At yun ang laging naaalala ko, especially during that time na I was already working as chair of the Youth Commission dito sa Pilipinas.
Yun po, Bishop. Aside from that po, na ano po ang message nyo sa mga kabataan ngayon regarding the teachings of St. John Paul II? Ano po yung pwede nyong ma-impart sa kanila?
Yeah. Unang-una, yung let us remember his motto, Totus Tuus. And it was addressed to the Blessed Mother. Yung special love niya sa ating mahal na ina. For me, if there is anything that I would like to look at John Paul in terms of his spirituality, it is his Marian spirituality. He was deeply Marian in everything. Every single inaalala ko nga, he was the one who finally fulfilled the wish of Fatima, yung dedicating Russia to the Immaculate Heart of Mary. It was her love, his love for Mary that saved his life when this attempt at his life nitong yung assassin na kaya nga yung bullet na nakuha sa tiyan niya, inilagay niya doon sa korona ng mahal na Birhen ng Fatima. So yung yung intense mayroon nga akong isang anecdote na naalala ko, again kinuwento ito ng itong nuncio si Archbishop Rene. Yun nga nung nangyari yung nung assassination attempt sa kanya, di gumaling siya sa awa ng Diyos at itong si Ali Agca ay nahuli nga at nandun sa bilangguan. Nung gumaling na siya, ay dinalaw niya daw ito si dinalaw niya nga talaga. In fact, there's a picture of that. Ngayon ang kwento, there's this anecdotal na sabi daw ni Ali Agca sa kanya nung nagkukwentuhan na sila, sabi niya, I'm sorry nga niya, they chose the wrong person na inassign. Parang sinasabi yata niya, sayang, hindi ako nag-succeed kasi mali yung taong pinili nila na hindi sharpshooter, hindi tama yung gano'n. Sabi daw ni Pope John Paul, no, they chose the right person, but they chose the wrong day. That was May 13. That was May 13, the day our Blessed Mother appeared to the three children of Fatima. And that was a special day of Mary. So sabi niya, malian niya yung araw. kung May 14 siguro niya, baka ko. Pero imagine yung connecting that event to the Blessed Mother's care and protection. Yun ang unang-unang gusto kong kay John Paul. Na pangalawa, he is also been so identified with the unknown, the abandoned, the little ones. Ang youth ministry natin, isang pagkakataon para hindi lang makilala ang galing natin bilang kabataan and to ma-recognize yung potentials natin na pwede natin ipagkaloob sa simbahan, sa daigdig, whatever, because we are all gifted. But there are those who have not realized the gifts that they have. And sometimes the world prevents them from recognizing their gifts. These are the people who are oftentimes abandoned by society. Ito ang next parang message ni John Paul sa atin. Do not forget the little ones. Do not forget the abandoned. Do not forget the poor and all that. So yun ang and then of course finally is yung always believe in yourself. You do not be afraid. Always believe in yourself na something is going to happen for you because the Lord has a place for you here in this world, parang ganyan. And that is one thing that we have to hold on. It does not have to be something special. It does not have to be something that the world recognizes. The important thing is that we let the will of God happen in our lives. Whatever it may be, wherever He will lead us. Yun.
Yun, totoo yan. Naalala ko po, Bishop, yung kwento mo nga tungkol sa Fatima, I think it was in 2011 when pumunta tayong Portugal. Kasama ko po si Bishop noon. Nagpunta kaming Fatima. It was the World Youth Day in Madrid, Spain. And we had the time to go to Fatima and see exactly kung saan yung crown na 'di ba na may bullet ng assassination ni John Paul II. And siguro Bishop, i-share ko lang din, it was also a very interesting and very inspiring moment for me when I also had the chance to visit the Divine Mercy Shrine in Krakow, Poland, during World Youth Day. And doon ko po nakita yung suot ni John Paul II when he was assassinated. So nakita ko po yung may blood and all that. So nakaka-inspire lang to see kasi hindi ko siya nakita personally. Hindi ko siya nakita hindi ko siya nakahalubilo katulad mo. So ang naririnig ko lang po were all stories about him, were all mga nababasa ko lang po about Saint John Paul II. And yun nga po, during that World Youth Day then in Krakow, we had the opportunity to visit his hometown in Wadowice. And doon nakita natin kung saan siya natutulog, yung mga ganon. And one of the things, Bishop, na nakita namin doon was there was a room kung saan maraming mga kabataan nagsusulat sa kanya. So, letters from young people, and yung nakakatuwa, no, how the young people has been really inspired of him kahit sa panahon ngayon na santo na siya, na-inspire pa rin tayo ni St. John Paul II. And ngayon, Bishop, sa mga kabataan ngayon, ano po ang masasabi, especially ngayong time na yun na nasa pandemic tayo, anong masasabi mo sa ang message mo para sa ating mga kabataan?
Well, there is so much to learn from these difficult times that the Lord has allowed us to experience. Unang-una, if there is any gift for me na nakita kong parang special na pinabalikan sa atin ng Panginoon, ay ang simbahan sa tahanan. The church of the home. The church in the home. Kasi nga, all the churches have been closed. We were prevented from going to church. What we usually were doing on Sundays especially, or whenever, wala na. Pero paano natin, saan natin, tayo sa loob ng bahay, magdasal, magbantay ng misa online and all that. But above all, is to recognize that yun ang original church, as a matter of fact, di ba? The domestic church, the first church, the church of the home. And I think that is a very important message ng Diyos, ng mahal na Diyos sa atin. Kasi wala na ito. We could only find the church in the church. And mukhang hindi naman talaga totally mali yun, pero kulang yun. Kasi kung hindi tayo nakapagsimula na kilalanin ang simbahan sa tahanan, napakahirap lumaki yung simbahang sa labas ng tahanan. Kasi sa tahanan tayo unang tinuruang magdasal, magantanda, magkrus, makilala ang Diyos na ating Ama, yung Our Father, El Mary, etc., Angel of God, and all that. We grew up, or we were supposed to be growing up in that awareness of God sa bahay. Hindi yung katekista, hindi yung pare, hindi yung and all that. It is there at home. And sana, ito ang muling ma-recover natin. Diba? We have all the time with our children now. We could sit together and read books, the Bible in particular. Now, we are coming out again, going back to our normal lives. But have we appreciated that, the gift of the church in the home? That is the first thing that we must learn to recognize. Pangalawa, hindi lahat ng pagkakataon yung limitasyon, freedom is slavery. There are many things that we're able to do in this enslavement, in this lockdown. We were able to discover other skills that we have. I am sure marami tayo na-develop. Yung mga nakatiwangwang nating ang bakuran ay biglang yumabong sa tanim ng mga gulay, mga I'm sure dito sa amin, dito sa bahay ko lang, ang dami na sangkatutak na we began to appreciate all the vegetables that are growing wild. Ito yung tinatawag naming lubi-lubi dito, which is really very delicious pag niluto mo. Siyempre, nasa gata ng nyog. Anyway, things like that. And then our flowers are blooming because we started planting these flowering plants, etc. And there are other things that we have learned to discover na skills na kaya nating gawin, magagandang gawin saan. Yun ang pangalawa. Pero pangatlo, above all, I think the Lord is telling us once again, without me, you can do nothing. The Lord is not punishing us with this so that we would be on our knees and say, Lord, forgive us. He is not that kind of God who is judging us with his whip para parusahan tayo, sabi, merisi kayo, natuto kayo ngayon, hindi yon. He's just a father trying to remind us na, sige, kung tuloy-tuloy kayo sa inyong nilalakaran na wala ako, mawawala kayo. Kasi pag wala ako, wala rin kayo. So without me, you can do nothing. Let us not forget that. And therefore, when we are back to our normal, whatever normal we may have finally, one day, let us not forget. Yun ang laging message ko ngayon kahit sa mga misa. Let us not forget that during these darkest moments of COVID-19, God held our hands. And let our young people not forget that. Kasi soon we will have all the opportunities again, and God just might be relegated to the background. God forbid na payagan niya na namang isang COVID-19 or 20 or 21, whatever, para lang tayo makaalaala na kailangan natin siya. Wag sana yun. So, that. And I hope we can really learn.
Yan, maraming salamat, Bishop. And sana tayong lahat nanonood, we can take inspiration from Bishop Bong and at the same time from one of the greatest saints, Saint John Paul II, for his teachings and his words and his way of life. No, nakakatuwa yung way of life ni Saint John Paul II, his prayer life, and the way he lives his life, his love for God and his love for the humanity. And maraming salamat, Bishop Bong, sa pagbigay ng time para mag-share ng iyong experiences ng
maraming salamat din po.
with Saint John Paul II.
I really appreciate this time that you have invited me to. All the best sa yung CBCV conversations.
And thank you din po so much. And sa lahat mo nanonood, continue sharing in the comments below how St. John Paul II has inspired you and what are your favorite quotes and messages from our Saint John Paul II. So maraming salamat sa panonood. Ito po ulit si Sky Ortigas, and God bless you all and Mama Mary loves you. Magandang hapon.
Magandang hapon.